Alright, corset, check. Steak, check. Hi guys, it's Kira and I am here today to talk to you guys about a book that I read recently. I recently read Hunting Prince Dracula and I absolutely loved it and I cannot wait to discuss this. I'm actually going to do something just a little bit different with this review. I'm going to first talk about some of the historical aspects regarding Hunting Prince Dracula first. So even if you guys haven't read anything having to do with this series at all, you kind of get a feel for like what some of the elements that are included in them, because this is a historical fiction YA book, which is also a lot of fun, kind of a murder mystery sort of thing that includes a bunch of historically accurate things in it that are just amazing, and it just makes the story pop. Now this is circulating around two fictional characters, Thomas Cresswell and Audrey Rose, who is a very modern woman for the 1800s that she lives in. So I'm going to go ahead and get into talking about all of that. You know, I just figured I probably should put this down before I poke my eye out. You know, I might end up losing this corset like halfway through because you guys can't see it in film anyway. And Audrey Rose had to wear these like in the 1800s, and I have to tell you, like, she gets mad props for that because it's even referenced several times in the book that she had trouble breathing. And you know, honestly, I don't doubt it. They made you like this. Women are supposed to be like this, not like this. So there's my rant about corsets. Might get more angsty as time goes on if I decide to leave it on. Who knows? And I'm just going to go into like a few quick little things regarding Hunting Prince Dracula really quick, just because I want to give you an overall feel for what some of the elements of this book contain that really just made me so excited. Right from the introduction, they're on the Orient Express. The Orient Express is actually a train that goes all over Europe, and it went all over Europe for 126 years. Currently, Thomas Cresswell and Audrey Rose are on their way to Romania to study forensic science at a very elite and prestigious school. One of the things that I really loved about the fact that Kerri Maniscalco included the Orient Express in this is the fact that the Orient Express was also referenced in Bram Stoker's Dracula. During Bram Stoker's Dracula, the train was actually taken from England to Paris by John Harker and Van Helsing in their hunt for Dracula. So this book actually includes a lot of historical elements, but what I really loved about this is it also included elements from Bram Stoker's Dracula that were really reminiscent. They never actually went through and detailed the fact that these were exact replications of the stuff that went on in Bram Stoker's Dracula, but Kerri Maniscalco really went through and kind of melded a little bit of everything together. So even if you weren't a fan of the historical elements of Vlad Tepes or Elizabeth Bathory, you could still really get a feel for this book and have something to relate to in it if you are at all familiar with Bram Stoker's Dracula. Another thing too that seems to happen like intermittently like in this book is they write letters back and forth, which is also very reminiscent of Bram Stoker's Dracula because that was their main form of communication in those books. I love the fact that we had once again a little bit more reminiscence of Bram Stoker's Dracula because once again it just made me so happy like that there was so many elements that are incorporated in this, and she did such a great job and I absolutely love it. Like love it. Another thing too, as far as the historical elements go in this, is that this castle that they're going to for the forensic sciences actually takes place in the Carpathian Mountains. The Carpathian Mountains are these legendary mountains in Romania that are known for having vampires in them. Carpathian Mountains is home to a lot of legend and lore surrounding a lot of mythological creatures in Romanian mythology. One of the most popular Romanian terms for vampires is the strigoi. Strigoi is actually just another way that Romanians had that they reference vampires. It was just their lingo in their mythology for it. Also another mythological creature that is referenced in this book called Piccoli. Piccoli? I'm going to leave the spelling down there because I can't obviously pronounce it. The Piccoli are actually said to have been created from violent men, and they're actually essentially werewolves, and they go into kind of like a little bit of lore regarding that as well, which I really appreciated. I mean, like, this was just very well researched, just like her Stalking Jack the Ripper book, which is one of the reasons why I absolutely love these books, because there's so much fact behind the fictional story that we get introduced to. The castle in the Carpathian Mountains that they go to is called Bram Castle. Bram Castle is actually like located in the Carpathian foothills, which is at the base of the Carpathian Mountains, and it's about 20 miles from a town called Brasov. Brasov is the official location of Vlad Tepes's castle, and there is some speculation as to whether or not he ever visited Brom Castle. One of the other things that I really loved about this book is the fact that it kind of like also dove into Vlad Tepes. I have always been kind of a fan historically of Vlad Tepes. I have been into vampires since I can remember, and vampires are all stemmed from the legend of Vlad Tepes along with Romanian mythology, but Prince Dracula himself was actually the incarnate of Vlad Tepes historically. Vlad Tepes was this very renowned prince who had at one point lost his throne and who had regained his throne by being extremely vicious on the battlefront. People external to Romania absolutely hated Vlad Tepes. They thought he was evil and corrupt. But the people of Romania themselves, the people that he was protecting, loved him because they experienced a time of peace that they had not experienced in a very long time. He would actually cut off your hand if he found that you were stealing. So he was very no-nonsense kind of prince, and he wanted to make sure like that his people were protected. Now, I also want to get into the fact that they also reference Countess Bathory as well, who lived approximately 150 years after, but instead of living in Romania, she lived in Hungary. She is a Hungarian noblewoman that bathed in the blood of virgins as a beauty remedy because she thought it would keep her young. There's even some speculation that she used an Iron Maiden to kind of as juice her people in order to get enough blood from them. She's also one of the most notorious female serial killers of all time. They do not have an exact body count, but it's approximately over 700 young girls or young maids that attended to her during the time that she was a countess. She did eventually get caught though, and what they did was they stuck her in her castle, emptied out of all people, and they boarded up the windows and doors with bricks and only left a very small area until the day she died so that they could shove food underneath it. So now that we've gotten into that, those are all the elements like that it includes, and I'm going to get into the rest of the information about my review of Hunting Prince Dracula. Okay, this part is if you have already read Stalking Jack the Ripper and are curious about Hunting Prince Dracula and the elements that are involved in it. This is not going to have like any of the really like big spoilers. I'm going to keep that until the end of this, just because of the fact that if you haven't read Hunting Prince Dracula, I don't want this to be ruined for you. So I'm going to go ahead and discuss like a little bit more like about some of the elements, starting off with the beginning of the book where Thomas Cresswell and our modern beautiful Audrey Rose is on their way to Romania. This book actually picks up about 6 days exactly after Stalking Jack the Ripper ends. With the events like that happened in the end of Stalking Jack the Ripper, she has been very traumatized by the situation. Now, Audrey Rose is having some post-traumatic stress from the events that happened at the end of Stalking Jack the Ripper that were very reminiscent of something similar that Jonathan Harker went through in Bram Stoker's Dracula. She kept seeing her brother's face on people's faces. She kept kind of hallucinating that he was there even though he wasn't. And that was something very common not only with Jonathan Harker regarding Prince Dracula after he had been abducted by him, but it was also kind of reminiscent of what Mina Harker was going through when she was being corrupted by Prince Dracula. So I felt like there was kind of like an echo of that reference from the Bram Stoker's Dracula in Hunting Prince Dracula. So the fact that this book so perfectly combined Higher folklore and Romanian folklore along with Bram Stoker's Dracula with a little hints of both is enough to please anyone who is either interested in history or fiction. On their way to the Carpathian Mountains to Brom Castle, there's a murder on the train in which somebody is drained of blood and has a little white piece of something lodged in their throat. So here is where our story begins and the mystery ensues. Audrey is still having a lot of problems with dealing with anything having to do with this, and she realizes that this is a huge opportunity for her to go to a prestigious forensic school over in the Carpathian Mountains, and she doesn't want to mess it up. So she's kind of putting a lot of pressure on herself, especially after the events like that happened. It's making it very hard for her to be in a room with anything dead. The fact that this book makes so many references historically to the things that happened in this book was just incredible, and I felt like this once again was just another really well researched book. Of course, once again, things were tweaked in it. It couldn't be 100% historically accurate for the sake of the fact that she had to make things flow into the story just right. But I loved how she just included so many things. We even got to learn throughout the book off and on a little bit more about Countess Bathory, bloody countess, and she was just notorious at, like, for killing people. And so like they kind of make references throughout the book regarding Countess Bathory, and that made my vampire heart so very happy, because when we talk about vampire lore, she is one of the main people that we discuss. Another thing that I really, really loved about this too is that we have the same couple and the same level of angst, but a little bit more tender this time. Like, Thomas Cresswell's really warmed up to Audrey Rose, and it just made my heart so happy because like they kind of like experienced a little bit more chemistry. Like, she kind of, you know, was able to get past some things in this book that were really bothering her, like during the beginning of this book and during the entire book of Stalking Jack the Ripper. And I love the romance, and it was just the cutest thing, and I absolutely ship this couple like 110%, because this couple, like, they complement each other so well. Like, they are each other's match, and it's such a beautiful, wonderful romance that left me feeling wonderful. So I am done gushing as far as like the overall storyline goes. Like, this book, once again, is just amazing and immaculate, and I just absolutely positively loved it. I wanted to phrase this review in a way like that people who have not read Hunting Prince Dracula can honestly enjoy like this, and then it also kind of gives them the ability to kind of get some of the historical references. The next portion of this video, I'm going to be going into a lot of the spoilers, and so if you have not read this book, do not stay tuned for the rest of this. But anyways, thank you guys for watching up to this point, and come back and watch the spoilers after you've read the book. Okay, spoiler alert. We're getting rid of the corset. We're done. We are so done. Oh dear. I think I'm stuck. Oops, got it. And I'm free. Breathing is wonderful, and it's a luxury when you're in a corset. There's a lot of mystery in this. Like, it was just, once again, just so well done. And I honestly say like that I loved this book. I still didn't love it as much as I loved Stalking Jack the Ripper, mainly because like maybe some of the novelty had worn off just a little bit, because like I was such in awe like of her writing like the first time around. I still gave this a 5 out of 5 stars because it was still very well done, very well written, but the ending for me was just a little bit convenient. And in spite of that, all books have their flaws, and I'm willing to overlook that flaw because I loved all the other elements of this book just so terribly much, and I loved it enough to get past that, but it just seemed like there was so many conveniences in this as well. So we have Thomas Cresswell, who is actually the last descendant of Vlad Tepes, and so technically he is the rightful prince to Romania. And that just seems like a really convenient thing to me, considering, like, you know, like, he is part Romanian and everything, but the fact that Audrey happened to run into him out of everyone in England. And so, like, it just seems very convenient to me, and that kind of, like, just kind of threw me off and took me out of the story, like, a little bit. It was pretty much the only thing that I really, really had an issue with regarding this book. That was, like, my biggest issue, was just how convenient that felt. And I loved everything else. And then we have Anastasia. Anastasia was this kind of like, she seemed perfectly level like the whole book. Like, we really had no idea like that she was going to end up being our murderess, and who ended up killing a lot of these young girls like that were killed out throughout the book. And we had no idea, because they did such a good job, like, once again, of kind of like making you like wonder who it was. At least I didn't have any idea. I don't know if you guys did. If you guys figured it out, just like let me know, like, if you guys figured it out, like put like a little emoticon so like we don't like ruin it for anybody else. But if you've read this book and you figured it out, I just want like a little like maybe like pumpkin or something like that to kind of like, you know, 'tis the season of Halloween. So this book was just amazing to me. The fact that they had Anastasia as kind of like the descendant of Countess Bathory, I kind of also thought was like a little bit convenient, but I didn't really mind that as much, because that actually made a little bit more sense, considering like the fact that she was already like living in Romania, and you know, she was kind of already at Brom Castle, which of course her ancestors did come from Hungary, so then again maybe like it was a little bit convenient also, just another one of like the little conveniences that were taken in order to make the story kind of meld together and all of the historical facts kind of mesh. And so, like, the fact that she was descendant, I mean, like, and of course, you know, Thomas Cresswell and Audrey Rose are, like, once again, like, the cutest couple, like, ever, and I absolutely love them, and hopefully, like, in the next book, we'll see more. One of the other things, too, is, like, that if you, I don't know if you guys caught it, but there was actually, like, one point that her cousin was seeing this magician in America, and automatically, like, I knew, like, that it was probably going to be leading us to Escaping Houdini, which is the third book. And I'm just very excited regarding that because, like, I can't wait to continue on with the series because it's just so amazing. But I really just wanted, like, I can't wait. I can't wait. So this is pretty much like my rambling thoughts of this book and the historical stuff that I really just loved and I pulled out of it. If you guys like this video, hit the little like, hit subscribe, and hit the little bell icon if you guys want to receive emails every time I post. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it if you guys watched me to this point, especially because I pretty much rambled this entire video because I love this book so much, and no matter how far I got into this or this review, I literally could not stop rambling because I just love this book so much. So hopefully this was well organized enough that it wasn't a giant mess. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again very soon.